everybody.
How y'all doing?
This is my daddy.
That's right.
On August 18, 2017, a woman walked into the Baytown Police Department to report her boyfriend missing. She told them it had been 2 days since she last had contact with him, stating that she was worried. Detectives start searching for 32-year-old Steven Coleman. They check his apartment. Both his cars are still there. His wallet, his phone charger, everything. But where is he? While Steven's mother was out putting up flyers, while his brother was calling hospitals, the woman who reported him missing was right there with them, comforting them, crying with them, sleeping in their home. And the whole time she knows exactly what happened to him.
A woman is under arrest accused of killing her boyfriend and dismembering his body with a machete. He was last seen at his apartment on James Bowie Drive back in August.
Girlfriend's last wife killed him, shot him in his head, and then cut his pieces of his body.
Man, it's sad though, man. How can you just chop somebody up like that?
I asked her about him, and she seems kind of shocked. She goes, "Why are you asking me that?" I said, "Well, I heard that he was missing for a while." And she kind of carried on like she didn't know anything about it.
Deputies tracked her down in Louisiana outside New Orleans. Janelle Bluda has the story.
It acted like she knew nothing about anything. She was trying to call him. She hadn't heard from him. No response. She wasn't who she tried to play off being.
Before we get too deep, hit the like button, share your take in the comment, and tap subscribe with the bell so you never miss the next episode of Deranged Women. Steven Coleman was born on October 13, 1984. He grew up with dreams that went beyond the streets of Baytown, Texas. Music was his passion. He went by the stage name Slim Da Don, and he took his craft seriously.
I don't go up that E, that's a classic statement. I graduated ahead of the fucking class of greatness. Go ask your favorite, the actor's favorite, and facts and statements. I give a fuck by the cap and gown and congratulations.
Steven wasn't chasing overnight fame. He was building something real. Studio sessions, writing lyrics, collaborating with other local artists. People in the Baytown music scene respected him because Steven showed up. If he committed to a performance, he was there. If he promised a verse, he delivered. That kind of reliability is rare, and it earned him genuine respect. Steven's music reflected his life. Struggle, aspiration, authenticity. He rapped about real experiences. And while he hadn't broken into mainstream success yet, he was on a trajectory that showed promise. But music wasn't the only thing that mattered to Steven. His family was everything to him. His mother, Cierra Coleman, was his biggest supporter. She believed in him when the path wasn't clear, when the money wasn't coming in, when people doubted whether he could make it. She was his confidant, his business advisor, the first person to hear new tracks. His brother was equally important. When Steven needed equipment, his brother made it happen. And then there was his daughter, Anaya. That bond right there, that's everything. Steven adored that little girl. She looked just like him, had his smile, his energy. The videos he posted with her show a father completely present. Not distracted, not half-engaged. Anaya was his pride, his motivation, the reason he worked so hard to make something of himself. He wanted to build a legacy she could be proud of. Steven lived in a modest 2-bedroom apartment that he shared with his girlfriend, Cierra Sutton. Cierra Alexis Sutton was born on May 2, 1987. She was 30 years old at the time of this incident. Cierra was a single mother working as a veterinary technician. She seemed stable, had a job, was raising her 10-year-old daughter, and was in a relationship with Steven. They looked like a regular couple navigating life together. Steven often posted about Cierra on social media a lot. He was proud to be with her. On August 10, 2017, he wrote, "Behind every real man is a real queen. Believe that. That's my girl 100%. She responded, "Love you, bae. Proud to call you my king and to be a part of your life." In another post that same day, he called her his ride or die. He even showed off her tattoo, his stage name inked on her body. This was just 6 days before the tragedy. Friends who knew them both said the relationship had tension. Arguments were frequent. Some people noticed that things seemed off, that the public affection didn't quite match the private reality.
Like in the middle of the parking lot, kind of, and he had her pinned down.
Pinned down on the ground, what was he doing?
He had a belt around her neck.
But Steven never walked away. He stayed. 4 months before, he reportedly told a close friend that if anything ever happened to him, they should suspect Cierra first. That friend didn't press him for details. He figured it was just a relationship drama, the kind of thing people say when emotions are running high. But Steven wasn't being dramatic. He was issuing a warning. A warning proved to be tragically accurate. What happens when you ignore your own instincts? When you stay with someone your gut tells you is dangerous? On August 16, 2017, neighbors saw Steven return home in the afternoon carrying groceries. He seemed fine, normal. He even posted something on social media that evening, talking about new music he was working on. At some point that evening, Steven and Cierra got into an argument. The exact details of what they fought about remain unclear. But according to some reports, it was about finances, something they'd argued about before. Other accounts suggested jealousy played a role, that Cierra questioned Steven's interactions with female fans. Whatever sparked it, the argument eventually subsided. Steven walked away from it and went to bed. But Cierra didn't go to bed. She didn't cool off and let it go. She stayed up and let her mind go to dark places. Cierra retrieved a firearm and shot him in his sleep. Steven Coleman never woke up. He never had a chance to defend himself, never had a chance to run, never had a chance to call for help. One moment he was sleeping in his own bed and the next moment he was gone. Shot by the woman he loved. But Cierra Sutton wasn't done. She made plans to hide any evidence that would immediately connect her to what happened. She disposed of the evidence in a way that made identification difficult and complicated the investigation. After that, Cierra returned to the apartment and began cleaning. And then on the morning of August 17th, just hours after everything she'd done, Cierra Sutton went to Walmart. She bought cleaning supplies, garbage bags, a new mattress, and she paid for all of it using Steven Coleman's credit card. On August 18th, 2 days after the incident, she walked into the Baytown Police Department and reported her boyfriend missing. She told detectives that Steven had left after their argument on August 16th and hadn't come back. She provided them with recent photos, gave them his physical description, shared contact information for his family and friends. She played the role of a concerned, worried, and confused girlfriend. She even suggested places he might have gone and people he might have contacted. Detectives opened an official missing persons investigation. They started with standard procedures, checking the apartment Steven shared with Cierra. Both of Steven's vehicles were parked outside. His wallet was inside, his phone charger was plugged into the wall. Personal items that someone wouldn't just leave behind if they were walking away. When investigators spoke to Steven's family, they learned something crucial. Steven maintained close contact with his mother and brother. He checked in regularly, and going days without communication was completely out of character for him. The more detectives dug, the more questions emerged. Cierra's answers started changing. According to reports, first she said Steven might have gone to Houston to cool off. Then she suggested maybe he went to visit friends. When pressed about the specifics of their argument, details became vague and inconsistent. And then detectives noticed something else. The way she spoke about Steven was in past tense. She avoided eye contact, her body language didn't match her words. Everything was off. Detectives knew it, but they just needed proof. Cierra agreed to let police search the apartment. On August 24th, investigators got a search warrant and entered the residence. Despite her efforts, investigators found evidence connecting her to the case. Further analysis and testing confirmed what investigators already suspected. But the apartment wasn't the only place investigators found evidence. Cierra's Jeep told its own story. Despite her attempts to clean the vehicle interior, more evidence was discovered. Over the early morning hours of August 17th, between 3:40 a.m. and 5:15 a.m., surveillance cameras across Baytown captured Cierra's vehicle stopping at multiple dumpster locations. She moved quickly at each stop, depositing bags before driving to the next site. The most substantial evidence ended up in a dumpster behind a shopping center, scheduled for collection that very morning. It eventually made its way to the Chambers County landfill, where it was discovered 6 days later. On August 22nd, workers at the Chambers County landfill made a discovery. Steven Coleman had been found at that location. Medical examiners determined the victim had been shot before anything else occurred. While Steven's mother was putting up missing person flyers with his photo, while his brother was calling hospitals and checking with friends, the woman responsible for the tragedy was sitting in his mother's living room, accepting their comfort, eating their food, sleeping in their home. What kind of person can look a grieving mother in the eye, knowing she's the reason for what happened. But even with all of this evidence mounting against her, Cierra continued her pretense. She posted on social media asking for help finding Steven. She participated in search efforts organized by his family and friends. She maintained the facade of a concerned girlfriend desperate for answers. Right up until the moment investigators closed in and she realized it was over. As the evidence became impossible to explain, Cierra ran. On September 1, 2017, she disappeared from Baytown. Left her apartment, left her job, left Texas entirely. She fled to Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, where she had family connections. She believed distance would provide safety. During her time in Louisiana, Cierra told different stories to different people. To some, she maintained that Steven had simply left her. To others, she hinted at knowing more than she publicly admitted. And then in some moments she reportedly spilled the truth. Investigators compiled the evidence, surveillance footage, witness statements, cell phone data, the financial records showing Cierra using Steven's credit card, and presented everything to the Harris County District Attorney's Office. On September 14, 2017, exactly 1 month after, Cierra Alexis Sutton was charged on first-degree charges. That same day, U.S. Marshals, working with Baytown detectives and Louisiana authorities, located Cierra at a residence in Metairie, Louisiana. They surrounded the home at 6:30 in the morning. When they took her into custody, she showed no resistance. The Baytown Police Department released an official statement, addressing the media and public, laying out what investigators had uncovered. The statement read, "On August 16th, Baytown police detectives began investigating the disappearance of 32-year-old Steven Coleman of Baytown. During the course of that investigation, evidence was uncovered that has led to charges being filed, through the Harris County District Attorney's Office, on 30-year-old Cierra Sutton for the tragic incident regarding Steven Coleman. Our first priority is the safety of the public, and as such apprehending Ms. Sutton has been our top priority to this point. Ms. Sutton was taken into custody late Thursday night in Louisiana without incident and is currently in custody. This case is still very active and detectives will be working throughout the weekend uncovering details of the case." Cierra showed no remorse for what she'd done to Steven. Following her arrest in Louisiana, Cierra initially fought extradition to Texas. Cierra's trial began on January 14, 2019. More than a year after her arrest, after countless delays and attorney changes, the case finally went before a jury. After 7 days of testimony and evidence presentation, the jury received the case on February 5, 2019. She was found guilty on charges in the first degree. The judge handed down a sentence of 45 years in prison. Steven had warned his friends. He'd sensed something wasn't right with Cierra, but he stayed. But maybe he didn't think she'd actually follow through. Maybe he thought he could handle it. Maybe he loved her despite his doubts. His family maintains private traditions to honor Steven's memory. On his birthday each year, they gather to play his music and share stories that celebrate who he was. Remember, danger can wear a friendly face. Stay aware, look out for others, and reach out if you need help. See you in the next case on Deranged Women.